It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Welcome one and all to tonight's version of, you guessed it, the Brouhaha.
What about it, man? What's going on?
Well, that's Dale McKee, and I'm Marshall Wood, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. I was hoping you could tell me.
Well, they got a big dance in Omaha the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Be watching that a little bit.
Yeah, Omaha. The College World Series.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and, that's a nice segue into our guest tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a guest tonight?
I do.
Tell us about him.
Well, he's one of them slick-talking lawyers from Jackson named Jim
boy.
Keith. And Jim's going to tell us about his trips to Omaha, which is a yearly thing since 2000. He's gone every year since 2000, and he's going to tell us some stories about people that he's met up there, and you know, State winning it, and Ole Miss winning it, you know, just different things, you know, and what he's seen, and just the experience of being up there.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I think he's going to be an interesting guest leading into this weekend's action that starts Friday up in Omaha.
Look at you. You actually think about this stuff a little bit, don't you? I mean, you that requires some thought. We got the College World Series coming. We got a guy that's been, you know, hadn't missed one this century, it sounds like. I mean, so you got it all lined up. I expect nothing less than you.
Well,
from you.
We
from you.
We try our best. Now, he may send us a bill, so just pay it and don't mention anything about
We'll pay it. We're going to get him on and off pretty quick.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about your sideline view before we get into tonight's guest. I'm glad, that was a perfect segue. We'll look forward to talking to Jim Keith here in a little bit, but let's hit your sideline view first, Dale. What's going on in your view? What are you seeing out there?
What am I seeing out there? Well, of course, we got, and we'll get into that details later when we're talking to Jim, but we got the World Series, and right now it looks like it's going to be a lot of SEC and ACC flavor.
Yeah.
Going into, of course, we're taping this show on Monday for people that want to know, so Georgia and North Carolina State haven't played. But Georgia's from the SEC, North Carolina State's from the ACC. If Georgia wins, we'll have 5 SEC teams in Omaha. If North Carolina State wins, beats Georgia, then we will have it even. 4 SEC, 4 ACC teams. So
how many teams go to Omaha?
8.
So you're either going to have half or one more than half from the SEC.
You could, or you could.
Well, you're going to have half.
But you could have it even between the two,
Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, and I'll try to remember all the SEC teams, I know Florida, and we got several Florida fans in Wayne County, I noticed.
Oh, yeah. Ken Kirkland's for one.
Yeah, Kenneth Kirkland.
Taylor's another one. I know one of the boys, buddies.
Well, Florida's unique in that they sent their softball team to the World Series, too.
Yeah.
So, that's not done very often, send baseball and softball. But Florida's going, Kentucky's going, Tennessee's going, Texas A&M's going, so that's 4 right there, right?
Yeah.
And then we're waiting on Georgia tonight. Right. And if they punch the ticket in, the ACC's got Florida State, and I think they're trying to leave the ACC, but that's a story of a different time, right? Anyway, I think Virginia's in it and North Carolina's in it.
So the only 2 conferences are going to be represented no matter what.
Are those 2?
Are those 2?
So it's all a Southern deal, And so
that's impressive.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was too.
Well, what else you got going on beyond that?
Well, we had a former Southern Miss pitcher made his debut in the major leagues yesterday. Didn't go too good.
Oh boy!
He pitched into the 4th inning. Hurston Waltrip that pitched at Southern Miss in 21-22 and was a first-round draft choice by the Braves last year. Made his debut, so he's been moving up pretty quick, to get up there since last summer. We had a couple players that are going to be on the ballot for 2025 College Football Hall of Fame. Ole Miss had 2 players nominated: Terrence Metcalf, which everybody knows is DK Metcalf's dad, and Michael Orr. And, of course, everybody
Couple
knows.
big offensive linemen.
Yep, and everybody knows about Blindside. And then we had, surprisingly, we had 4 former Mississippi Valley Delta Devils. Parnell Dickinson, who was a premier quarterback up there, along with Vincent Brown and Ashley Ambrose, who were both defensive backs. So that was interesting. Matt Corral come off the bench and led Birmingham to the championship this weekend. He beat the Michigan Panthers. They were trailing. Birmingham was down 18-3 at halftime, and they substituted Matt in, and he came through. He was 9-11 for a couple touchdowns, and they're going to play San Antonio, who is coached by Bum Phillips' son, this Sunday night, and they're going to play in St. Louis. St. Louis has had some big crowds up there, like 30,000.
Okay.
So, and there's another big crowd that watched Caitlin Clark play, I believe it was Friday night in Washington.
She had 24,000.
Yeah, it was over 20, but they played, the Washington team usually plays in an arena that hosts 4,000 folks. So they had to rent where the Washington Wizards, or I used to call them Bullets.
Yeah.
That's where they play.
Yeah.
It's 20,000. Sold it out.
Wow.
Caitlin got 30.
Good, Caitlin.
Yeah, so she's on her way. So but we had some track news, and we had some
That 4x100
yeah,
meter,
a girl,
Rebels, Lady Rebels.
Yeah, a girl from Ole Miss won the 100, the 200, and helped the Lady Rebel 4x100 relay team take home the NCAA Outdoor Track Championship. And they had a youngster on the men's side. His last name has got a hyphen in it, Robinson O'Hagan. He's from Rhode Island, but he's the shot putter for Ole Miss, and he won the shot put. He won it in the fall, and he won it now. So he's one of the rare 2-time champions there. Old Clarence Weatherspoon, one of the old former USA Golden Eagles that led them to their first NCAA tournament back in 1990, and was the #1 draft choice of the 76ers back in the day. He's taken over Meridian Junior College basketball team. So
we're looking forward to see how the Spoon does up there in Meridian.
Spoon,
We'll be pulling for it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Dale, appreciate that update and on all that's going on and from the sideline view. But I tell you what, let's take a break here from our sponsor, and then Dale and I will be back tonight with tonight's guest, Mr. Jim Keith. We're going to talk about the College World Series. We'll see you folks right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Jim Keith. Jim, how's everything in Jackson, Mississippi today?
It's going great today. It is hot, and we are getting into the summertime.
Well, listen, I know you're a big sports fan, and I don't know if you know much about this place, but this week there's going to be a baseball tournament in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but teams from the SEC and the ACC seems to be wanting to go up there. And so far through the recording of this show, we've got 7 teams up there, 4 from the SEC and 3 from the ACC, and we're still waiting on a verdict tonight between a SEC and ACC team to see. But now you've been to Omaha, haven't you?
I have. This will be my 23rd year in a row to go, not counting 2020, of course, when it was canceled. I will point out there were some really diehard fans that went to Omaha anyway and asked them to open the gate so they could go in and keep their streak alive, but I didn't do that.
You didn't do that? Well, listen.
No, I should have.
Did they actually have a tournament that year, or did they cancel?
No, they canceled it completely.
Yeah, I thought they
but there are a lot of people that we've met through the years that they've been going like 40 or 50 years, and they didn't want their string to end, so they got them to open the gates, and they walked in and stepped out on the field and said they've been to Omaha.
How about that? That's a unique story. Well, listen, how do you get to Omaha from, say, Jackson?
Well, it's interesting. I can kind of give you the background on how I got involved in it, and it was a real fluke, and it came out of 9/11 as a result of 9/11. The way my buddy and a college buddy of mine, he lives in North Carolina, but I got a call from him one day, and he said, "Hey Jim, you want to go to the College World Series?" This would have been the summer of 2002, and I said, "Yeah, how are we going to get tickets?" And he said, "Well, my brother-in-law is an air marshal. Was an air marshal right after 9/11 when they were flying around on these airlines trying to keep them safe. And he was flying with another air marshal from Omaha, and a fellow by the name of John Nunez. And John told my friend's brother-in-law, his name was Kip Hanby. He said, "Kip, if you ever want to go to the College World Series, I got access to tickets." He said, "Well, I don't care about baseball, but my brother-in-law does. Let me call him." He called his brother-in-law, Johnny Loper, by the way, who's from Forest. Johnny called me. He said, "You want to go?" And we had access to tickets. So we flew up there that first year, met John Nunez, who is part of the Nunez family. That family had been tailgating since back in the 80s. And we got our tickets from the Nunez family, and we started going to the games that first week. We went the first 3 days, and they invited us, by the way, to their tailgate. Their tailgate has about 40 or 50 people there. Well, we were a little hesitant to go because, we didn't have anything to take. And they saw us at the game and they said, "Are y'all coming to the tailgate? You're hurting our feelings." So we went to the tailgate. After we just left, after those first 3 days, they said, "Y'all are coming back next year, aren't you?" And we said, "Well, if we can get tickets." And John said, "Well, I've always got tickets available." So we went back the following year, and 23 years later, we've been going every year tailgating with the Nunez family. They pick us up at the airport, take us to our hotel, let us use the vehicle for the weekend. I mean, they have become like family to us. In fact, John Nunez and his wife, Jody, flew down when Nebraska played Southern, and we let them stay with us. We took them down to Southern to that ball game. We took them out to Cock and Walk, fed them catfish, which they'd never had. And they've become like family, just a wonderful group of people who have enabled us to go back and live our dream for now. This will be our 23rd year in a row to go.
Wow. How about that? Well, listen, I know you got some great stories. I mean, of course, everybody in Mississippi just reflects back on the last 3 years where I guess LSU came from nowhere last year to win it, and Ole Miss the year before, and State really got hot at the right time the year before that. And I know those were kind of the highlights, but just tell us the first about State. Now, you've seen Mississippi State probably several times up there since you started.
I did. I think State went in about 5 or 6, somewhere along in there. I think they went up there and went 2 and out. And then I think a couple years after that's when Southern went. Wasn't that like 2008, I believe, when USM was up there?
Yeah.
And so we got to see Southern play. We got to see State play again. 2013, we got to see State play, and and we got Ron Polk to come over to our tailgate. And of course, the Nebraska people thought we were really something that we could get somebody as famous as Ron Polk to come to their tailgate. And of course, as I told them, everybody in Mississippi knows everybody, or either we're related, so it's no big deal. And and if you remember back in that time, I believe one of the announcers for ESPN was Will Clark, and Will Clark came between broadcasts. He came over to our tailgate as well. So we saw him in 13. By the way, that was the time, which you probably didn't see it on TV, but some girls during that final game jumped out of the stands and went running out in the outfield and planted some kisses on our outfielders. Of course, you didn't see that on national TV, but we were right there next to them when they jumped over the fence and went out there. But we saw the transition from Rosenblatt in 2010, I believe, to the new TD Ameritrade at the time. And I really, really miss Rosenblatt because that was classic baseball.
Yeah.
But fan-friendly. And now we got, of course, the corporate atmosphere. Then we saw at State, 18, 19, I guess, along in there. Then,
now Ole Miss went.
When they won it.
Didn't Ole Miss go in about 14?
Ole Miss went 20. Ole Miss went 14. They sure did. The year after State did. And then Ole Miss went, of course, with the year they won it in 22. So yeah, we've been there. I'm a Mississippi State fan, and I keep telling people I did not know I had so many Ole Miss fans when they went in 22, because they were all looking for tickets. It was quite a party up there.
I bet it was. What's the atmosphere like when State played for that championship and they were on the verge of it, and Ole Miss, I mean, both of them filled the stadium up. Was there really that many State and Ole Miss fans?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was packed. It was like a home game at Duty Noble or a home game at Ole Miss with maybe a couple of thousand fans for the other team. I promise you, it was that much. And the people in Nebraska love to have teams from the South like Ole Miss and State and LSU, Arkansas, because we bring so many people. And I even had one vendor tell me one time, he said, I love dealing with you people from the South because y'all are all so polite to us. We have never heard any of y'all be ugly to any of us vendors, and we really enjoy waiting on y'all. Now, that's a vendor telling me that, which I thought was pretty unique.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss and State fans are just ugly to each other, huh? Nobody else.
Well, and the thing about the College World Series, it's not like football or basketball where, teams are at each other's throat and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. People actually cheer when the kids make good plays on the other team. And it's just a lot of camaraderie. I'm telling you, it's just a different atmosphere. And, of course, when the game's going on, there's a lot of yaying back and forth and all of that. But between games, fans visit with each other. I've had people... I've even bought caps for people from other schools just to let them know that we from Mississippi, appreciate even just being there. But no, it's really a different atmosphere than you see. And you really meet a lot of interesting people. We sat down in our seats in one game, and Steve Garvey and his wife sat down right beside us on the right. And I was eating some boiled peanuts that I had taken up there. By the way, they don't have boiled peanuts up there. So first time I took boiled peanuts up there, the tailgating people with that Nunez family, they looked at them and they said, Jim, there's something wrong with these peanuts. They're wet. And I said, well, that's right. But go ahead and eat a few and see what you think. Well, now they won't let me come without bringing about 40 pounds of boiled peanuts. And they call it the edamame of the South. That's what they put the little name tag on there, because people don't even know what they are. But I thought that was pretty cute. But
now, for some of our younger, Now, for some of our younger listeners, Steve Harvey was a Los Angeles Dodger great for several years during the 70s and 80s.
Played first base.
Yeah. Okay, but go ahead with your next.
His forearms look like Popeye, and he sat there for 9 innings. Eating boiled peanuts with us and talking baseball, and I leaned over and I told his wife, I said, man, I apologize for us dominating your husband's time. She said, you go right ahead. He loves it. And he was as nice as he could be. I watched Steve Garvey on TV. I wasn't a Steve Garvey fan, but I am now. Sitting 2 rows behind us when Cal State Fullerton played was the actor. If you remember the actor Kevin Costner, because Kevin Costner went to Cal State Fullerton and is a big, and he sat right there in the stands with us. He didn't sit up in the suite, to sit away from the crowd. So yeah, we've met some interesting people. I ran into Erin Andrews, the sideline reporter. She was interviewing Corky Palmer's wife, and I bragged to one of my buddy sitting by us that I bet you I could get her autograph. I had a pen, and he pulls a pen out of his pocket, and he says, go to it, big boy. And so I went up there, and where she was interviewing Corky's wife, and asked the cameraman if I could get her autograph. He said, you don't have a chance getting her autograph. She does not give autographs, especially when she's working. So when she quit interviewing Corky Palmer's wife, I said, Miss Andrews, I sure would like to have your autograph, because if you don't give it to me, I'm not going to be able to go down and sit by those guys that are standing down there cheering and hollering right now, because they have threatened me. I can't sit there without your autograph. She said, give me your cap. I gave her my cap, and she put a little heart on there and signed it, Erin Andrews, and I went back down in that crowd of people, and I was the instant hero down there.
I bet you were. Anyway.
Yes.
Well, listen, who is some of the players that you've seen up there that's went on to Major League Baseball
Oh, my goodness.
to be a star?
Yeah, the shortstop from Clemson years ago, Green was his name, I think. Oh my goodness, I remember him because he hit a home run against Mississippi State that I think is still orbiting the earth. I mean, just really. The North Carolina teams had, they won it 2 years in a row. They won the national champ the last year in Rosenblatt and the first year at TD Ameritrade 2 years in a row. They had a lot of really good players on those teams. There's so many of them, it's just kind of hard to recall. Of course, the LSU players, as you well know, several of them have gone on and just had major careers. And we've had a few from State and Ole Miss, obviously, some of those players on those teams that have made it as well that we follow. But you'll see them. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of talent at the College World Series. But I will say this: the best team doesn't always win the College World Series, because once you get there, all 8 are capable of winning it, and whoever is hot is going to win it. That's what happens every year.
Well, that of course, back a couple of years ago when State won it, were you surprised that they won it? I know they kind of got hot at a pretty good time. Beat a great Vanderbilt team, if I remember, but to get there.
Well, if you remember, Bednar, he got shelled at the SEC tournament, and so did the rest of our pitching staff. We got 10-run rules in our 2 games that we played at the SEC tournament, and we thought our season was going to be over. But they got hot when they got into the tournament, and then they played Notre Dame. Of course, we had a shutdown reliever. And if you've got 2 good pitchers and a shutdown reliever, which Ole Miss found out is what it takes, two good starters and a reliever, you can make it all the way through that tournament. And then you got to have timely hitting. You got to have a little bit of luck, and you can make it. And I thought State had a chance when they beat Texas that first game that Bednar pitched, if you remember. And he just shut him down. And I thought, whoa, if this guy is this hot and he stays this way, and as you know, he did, he made his money in the pros based on that performance in the World Series. And, of course, Ole Miss had some tremendous performances, as you well know, in the year that they were there, because they were hot, and everything just fell their way. And then when we got into the tournament, a lot of people don't remember, Vanderbilt did not have to play an extra game to get into the finals like we did. And we knew that we were going to be going up against their best too. And we had our work cut out for us. But as you well know, we ended up winning. And when the odds were against us, because North Carolina State, if you remember, got removed from the tournament because of COVID.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. What about, in your experiences, maybe even outside the College World Series experience, what's the best Mississippi State team that you've seen? Was it a team that won it, or a team that could have won it?
No, it was the team, was it 18 or 19? I can't remember, the clutch team that we had that won they hit the walk-off against Florida State, and then they hit walk-off against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt hit a walk-off against them, and then State hit a 11th inning home run to beat Vanderbilt. That team, I can't remember if that was 19 or I think that was the 19. Anyway, I thought that was our best team to have won it, and they didn't. Our 20 team really had the makings of a great team until COVID hit. Our 16 team, by the way, got beat by Arizona, but it was in the Super Regional, and I thought that was probably the best team of all of them that we had put together. But we didn't get out of the Super Regional. They had that one kid on that team who single-handedly beat us. So that's what happens, though, when you see that. And by the way, the experience going to Omaha is such a wonderful experience, even for families. Got a tremendous zoo up there. They got an Air Force Museum up there. There's just a lot to see and do. It's more than just baseball.
Jim, this is Marshall. I kind of gave you a little warning when we got started. Time flies when you're having fun, and we've had fun, and we're out of time for this segment of our show. Dale and I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us to share the passion that is the College World Series. Thank you for being with us today.
It is. Thank you so much.
Hold on for us just a minute while Dale and I take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back with tonight's final segment right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back to tonight's final segment. And I tell you what, there's a baseball fan right there, buddy. And that was fun. I enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah, that's some neat experiences he's had. Just going up there and meeting people from different places. I mean, think about it. Got a friendship with somebody that lives almost 1,000 miles away from you.
Yeah.
And you didn't know until you started going there too.
And that family just took him in.
Yeah.
Man. Of course, that tells a lot about it. I mean, he must be a pretty good guy. I mean, chances of you and I going up there and getting taken in by anybody, what do you think? Pretty slim, wouldn't you say?
No, they would look at that.
But special friends like sports have brought a lot of people together through the years.
Well, listen, you just take a high school football game, even in Wayne County. Who comes to the games? You got doctors, lawyers, janitors, people serving us food at Sonic. I mean, they're all up there for one reason.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost like a sports family to a certain degree, because you go to one of these restaurants on Saturday morning and 16-year-old could be talking to a 65-year-old about the game the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, they got something in common, and sports
we need that.
People bring people together.
It means something to our society.
Sure.
And we need that. We sure do. I like sports, and you're quite a sport yourself there, Dale.
Well, thank you. But I couldn't do it without you. Couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, well, I love fest going on in here, but look, I don't know. I just want to close out talking about, you're a fight fan?
What?
A fight fan, like boxing?
Yeah, well, I was back in the 70s when we had the great heavyweight boxers of those days.
Yeah.
The Pattersons and the Muhammad Ali and even Cassius Clay. I remember him.
Yeah.
And Joe Frazier, and then there was a couple others after that.
Yeah.
I remember one of the Spinks brothers was fighting, maybe not in the heavyweight division.
Michael and Leon, the Spinks brothers.
Yeah. And then, we go on to the Bite Ear and Tyson era, and all that. So, but I haven't really watched a lot of boxing, I'll be honest with you, lately.
Well, the reason I brought that up, you mentioned his name, Mike Tyson. I always liked Mike Tyson. I got involved. I came around him reading an article years ago when Cus D'Amato had taken him in and was training when he was just before he ever was a household name, and I got to watching him and his progression. It's been interesting. And he was supposed to fight again here in July. He's going to fight this YouTube influencer called Jake Paul. And Tyson's 57, 58 years old. This guy's, probably in his 20s. But the fight has been postponed. Tyson had a little health issue, and I think they're going to reschedule that fight for sometime in the fall. But anyway, you interested in watching that one, Dale?
I don't know.
I'm curious, and I'm going to be some kind of upset.
I wouldn't get in the ring with him at 58, even if I was 20. But the boy was a beast back in the day.
Man, he was.
Who was the George? Was it George Foreman?
George Foreman.
And he named all his children George.
No, I did not know that.
All his boys were named George.
I did not know that.
Well, I think he was the one that made millions of dollars selling cookware, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had the George Foreman grill.
Yeah.
You know, I got one.
You did?
Yes, sir. Still got it.
Okay.
I'll cook a hamburger patty in a minute on that thing. You hear me?
I got you.
Maybe a chicken tender or something.
Okay.
But on that happy thought, we're about out of time. We want to appreciate everybody for listening in to us tonight. Remember that you can follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and all of our shows are archived on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But for now, it's come to the time where we got to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.